Good evening, folks. We're live from Auckland's Tāmaki Makaurau Sky City Sky Tower. Tonight, the Auckland Supercar Eseries will find New Zealand's next great racer. That's right, entered by Auckland Unlimited. 10 racers across New Zealand are all standing by one spot. Tonight, 3 racetracks for next weekend's Watkins Glen's Supercars Cash Converters Esports Series finale. Who will it be? Well, this is what they're going to be competing for officially, the prize pack. Let's check it out. Representing Team Tāmaki Makaurau Auckland as a wildcard driver in the final All-Stars race of the Cash Converters Supercars Esports Series on the 29th of September. How cool is that? Yes, well, good evening, folks. My name is Brendan White. Welcome across Australia and New Zealand on this fantastic event. Last night, it was breathtaking. It was almost like you were there at that iconic circuit of Mount Panorama, Bathurst, Chad Naylon and Jonathan Simon on the edge of their seats. Kostecki and Fursell taking it out. Let's check out these highlights on what's in store for tonight.
Bosch race highlights of what was a scintillating 20 laps that had just about everything. And from the wave of the green flag, it was majority all-stars in the field at that point. Brodie Kostecki leading the field. And there was plenty of drama early on, Jonathan.
Plenty of battles as well. The Logitech G racing car there of Tony D'Alberto falling foul of some issues. This was a championship changer for Jackson Susan-Harlow as his teammate and co-driver Macaulay Jones found some issues at the exit of the chase.
There was a bit of drama between these two, and on the redress it nearly happened again. That was El Nabi trying to give the spot back to Dane Warren, and they were nearly tripping over each other. Corey Shepherd locking the wheel, and how about the restart? Now watch for the Monster Energy car. Ethan Warren on the curbs, finished off nicely, and that was their charge done. Anton De Pasquale did a great job to get that car up the field. Unfortunately for Corey Shepherd, it ended in the fences, sorry, Brady Myers, I should say. And then this fight, late in the race, what a move. Dane Warren to wrestle second away from Jake Burton in the dying stages of the race after the BP Ultimate Safety Car. He set his sights firmly on Jared Phillip. He chased, he got close, he threw everything at him. How about the run that he had on the last lap? They went side by side through the chase. He tried the outside move. They raced each other hard and fair. They hit their marks, but it was Jared Phillip who was able to prevail. And how about this for a photo finish? Print that off and put it on your wall. Jared Phillip, great job. Erebus get the job done. Neil?
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen, folks. It was history in the making. Esport, for the first time ever, went endurance racing at Mount Panorama, and they had the All-Stars and the pros join together and go for gold. And on the edge of the seat were two men, and it was fantastic to watch. It was a great viewing. Jonathan, welcome to the broadcast tonight. What a race last night. What a series so far.
Yeah, and I'm still catching up on my breath. We drove home and I was absolutely exhausted. It felt like the real Bathurst 1000. It was the Bathurst 125. It was the E-Series, but the action was just as real as the real thing. And hopefully we get some of that tonight in the Wildcard tournament.
Yes, well, we are representing Team Tāmaki Makaurau, so welcome over to Auckland, Jonathan, and thank you for being here with our broadcast tonight, and thank you for everyone for tuning in. 10 races across New Zealand, all vying for that all-important one spot left for Watkins Glen to set aside Stanaway, who is actually in for a mathematical chance to join and to win next weekend. An interesting fact here, this gaming driver won't be actually competing in the gamers side of it. He'll be competing in the All-Star side of it, Jonathan.
Yeah, and the pressure's on because you thought you were competing against your mates from sim racing. You get to compete against some of your idols from not just supercars, from the Super 2 field, other drivers from Toyota 86s, you name it. There's a whole flurry of racing car drivers. And we saw what the pressure can do to you last year when Forza Alnabi won a wildcard spot into the All-Stars E-Series and didn't quite wipe the field as everybody expected.
Yeah, well, how about we check out these amazing 10 drivers, because some of them have motorsport and some of them don't. Jonathan, fill us in.
So 10 drivers from New Zealand competing for that one and only wildcard slot in the All-Stars event at Watkins Glen next week. The oldest driver in the field in Logan Barnett at 40 years of age, and the youngest in James Anderson. His grandfather has raced with Dick Johnson in a real race car as well. He's the youngest at 20, and we've got 7 of these 10, as you mentioned there, Brendan, have real-world motor racing experience.
Yeah, some iconic names there and some real, I guess, talent in the sim races. Let's check out today's schedule. Where are we going in these 3 races, ladies and gentlemen? Well, first off, we're off to Austria right after this. The qualifying's nearly been done now. Red Bull Ring, it's all about that. Then we head off to your hometown, James, only a quick 2 hours from your front doorstep. The history will go all over that. Phillip Island, coming back to Phillip Island again for race 3 a bit later on in the evening. Jonathan, is there, I guess Phillip Island's your favourite pick for this one, being your hometown?
It certainly is. It's one of my favourite racetracks in the world, actually. Only 2 hours of a drive from my very doorstep here in Melbourne. It's a very good racetrack, but the Red Bull Ring is one we can't go past either. It's produced some phenomenal racing in our E-Series, as we saw for round 1 in the Cash Converters Supercars Eseries. I really hope supercars get to visit there sometime soon in the future if we do race internationally again.
Well, that would be a dream come true for many drivers. Let's check out the tracks that we're going to today. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, Red Bull Ring. It was all about Max Verstappen this year. It's the shortest track in the Formula One circuit, 14 laps, dry conditions today, 25-minute qualifiers. I think they're pretty much done offline at the moment. And Jonathan, the cars that we're going to be racing.
Yep, and we're going to give him a send-off because next year we move to Gen 3 and the brand new Mustang and the brand new Chevrolet as well. So the critical part about these cars now is that they've been on iRacing for 2 years. So some of the drivers here have been driving these for almost 24 months, but one driver in particular in the field has said to me that they've only been driving this car for around about a month, even less. And so the experience on their side is very much completely different to the others in the field.
Right, so it's a wildcard event for Team Tāmaki Makaurau Auckland. Beautiful, scenic place, and there's other events coming up. So a quick plug here for the Supercars. Repco are a naming right of also the Repco Battle of Jacks Ridge. November the 13th to 14th. It's a beautiful, iconic WRC spec stage, 20 minutes from downtown Auckland. And the man himself, Shane Van Gisbergen, actually took an inaugural event. And look, it's fantastic. It's coming up. Tickets are on sale now. Sold out last year. What an event that is. So you can see it down the bottom of your screen now. Just get onto rallynewzealand.com and we'll see you in Tāmaki Makaurau very shortly. Obviously not right now. We're in interesting times, but very shortly the city will open back up and will flourish again. Now, Jonathan, let's talk about the Red Bull Ring. We're going to go to Phillip Island. It's all about the Mustangs last year. 2019, McLaughlin, Goulard, they had a fantastic time. It was the reign of him. We haven't been back since, but Red Bull Ring, how was it when you guys went there for the first Supercars round?
It produced a lot of good action. So Dane Warren did dominate the event for pole and victory, but the battle for the podium went on and on. The pit entry was very difficult and took 2 drivers out of contention of a good result. And then the final laps produced a thrilling battle. It's a circuit that you might think, a Grand Prix layout. Does it suit these big 1,400 kilogram supercars? It doesn't really, but for some reason it produces some stellar racing, and we're going to get that here today for the first race of 3 of the evening.
Well, these guys actually have a lot of sim time down them. There's some good motorsport New Zealand code in there. We've got Formula First drivers, we've got 86 drivers. They're all in there. Now, this is a very fast, short circuit. Fill us in on how the Cash Converters Supercar Esports Series for viewers coming in that have, I guess, not witnessed the series so far, tuning in New Zealand. How's it gone so far, and how's the circuit?
The circuit's been great. Round 1 was an awesome part of the championship. Dane Warren has dominated since. And for Dane Warren to extend his advantage going into the final round, to continue the championship charge into the final round. Let's see if he can get it done, because remember last year, his teammate Josh Rogers managed to basically butcher his championship hopes in that final round, and that's what helped Dane Warren to his first ever Cash Converters Supercars Eseries title. We'll see if he can do it again. Today, though, for our New Zealand talent, one of these drivers, if they win this wildcard slot today, it's a great omen for next year. Can they sign themselves onto the grid full time?
Well, let's check out a track layout of the Red Bull Ring, owned by the man himself, the Red Bull owner in Austria. Jonathan, give us a bit of a rundown of what we're seeing out on screen now at the Red Bull Ring.
The Red Bull Ring, 4.3 kilometers in length, plenty of overtaking spots as well. This is one of the best out there at turn 3. This is the highest point of the circuit of 63 meters of elevation change. It's like riding a toboggan or a bobsled around the Austrian Alps here in Spielberg, Austria itself. Turn 4, overtake around the outside here during the race if you dare. We've seen so many incidents there over the years in not just Formula 1, but many different forms of motorsport. You go down to F2, F3, the Porsche Super Cup as well. Tough middle part of the lap. You might think it doesn't produce some good racing, but we saw side-by-side action there in the Supercar for round 1 of the Cash Converters Supercars E-Series. Tough couple of corners to close the lap. Easy to pick up what's called off-tracks in iRacing. More to come on that a little later on. The Red Bull Ring. What an exquisite venue, Brendan. He gets to host the first race this evening.
Yes, well, that's right. Watch out for turn 6, turn 7 and turn 3 for passing. This is it, one of the shortest circuits out there for Formula 1, and we are about to go racing, ladies and gentlemen, for the wild card for Team Tāmaki Makaurau, who will represent us in the grand finale of the Cash Converters Esports Series. Well, this is race 1 in Austria. Jonathan, take us away.
And it's a great start already from Kyle George in the first position. He's got to hold off James Anderson and Cameron Dance. Those 3 with real-world racing experience. Look at the back of the pack as well with Scotty McQueen, who's a drifter, who's dropped a number of positions here early at the start. You go into a heavy braking zone at turn 3. What a start there, Brendan, for Kyle George, who's already up around about a second on the field already.
Yeah, look, he is actually a team member of Al Nabi as well. He's got a lot of sim racing down him, but it is just coming through the main turning points now. He's got a good lead out there already. James Anderson a bit further back, representing the Bathurst Boot Party. He's had a fantastic run. Lots of motor racing history in that family through the Andersons as well. But the Battle of Jacks Ridge, we just talked about it. Round the outside now comes Cameron Dance.
Cameron Dance, good stuff. To the inside at turn 5 and pulls off the move into second. He started this race on the clean side of the grid. Remember, that's simulated too virtually on iRacing. His track state and the grip on the racing line. Dance to second. Anderson third. Matt Stevens challenging in the 4th position. He's got that drifter and Scotty McQueen behind him, the Kiwi. They're all Kiwis, we know that, but Scotty McQueen spent a lot of time in Victoria itself.
Yeah, Scotty McQueen's got a rich history in gaming as well, and he'll just be looking to see what happens out here in the front of the pack. But what is dangerous right now, remember folks, we've actually got 3 races tonight now, so it's almost like a mini championship title fight. So you've got to be calculated. It's not just a sprint race for this one race, so you've got to be calculated, and Scotty McQueen will just be hanging back to see what happens in this pack out in front of him. Bit of a tussle down the back there.
A nice scrap there between these 2. Oh, one driver's off the racetrack now. Who might that be?
Looks like Matt Stevens potentially.
Yeah, it was Matt Stevens who started the race from 5th. So that's his hopes basically dashed for the moment, unless another incident takes place later in the field. Side-by-side action. down the back of the pack as well. Really difficult for us, Brendan, trying to identify who is who at this stage of the race here. They're all new drivers to us. We know Kyle George is leading by a country mile, but Cameron Dance is very quick on the sim. I think those two are the favorites for today, and Cameron Dance hunting George down after that brilliant start.
Well, we get to see the view from Matthew Pluck now on the sim on the right-hand side of the screen. Just like the Cash Converters Esports Series, we're all simmed up. And look at these guys. They've got the gloves on. They take this so seriously too. Now, there's hundreds of hours that these guys input into these races. And they really have a fine racecraft as well. So we've got Michael down the bottom on your right-hand side of the screen as well. Like you see, Kyle George out in the lead right now. Actually works as a welder, but he has great experience. He's been karting. He's been into sim racing for a long time. He's teammates with our fellow person sitting alongside Stanaway Al Nabi, who had fantastic run. They had to redress yesterday at Bathurst, unfortunately, which kind of pushed them a bit back there, Jonathan. Oh, a little bit sideways there now.
Oh. Yeah, Talyancic running off the track and now vulnerable to losing a position to Logan Barnett. These are the two oldest drivers in the field at 39 and 40 years of age. Talyancic challenging now on the exit to the inside, and they're going to be alongside each other heading into turn 3 once more. You said it, Brendan. A lot of these drivers have real-world jobs, and this isn't their full-time gig in sim racing, so it's a tough asking to be quick on the virtual service when you've got all those other Pro Series drivers who raced last night who do this full-time.
We look at a nice little pass here. Logan Barnett, for some reason, just stepping to the left and letting the others pass through in the Game Tan car. Now, Game Tan, if you guys don't know what that's about, we talked about it last night. It encourages Māori and Pacific Islanders to get into technology. That's going to be awesome. We'll talk about that a bit later on. Now, if you're just tuning in and you're wondering, what are we watching? Well, right now, we are in Austria at the Red Bull Ring, and this is the Supercars Wildcard qualifier for one lucky Kiwi to go through to the final next week. Talk to me, Jonathan, about the reality, the realisticness of iRacing and the similarities, track edges, grip levels, tyre degradation. What are we seeing here and what are they experiencing as a driver?
Yep, everything is simulated. You've got day-night transitions. Believe it or not, there are people on iRacing who compete in 24-hour events, such as the Le Mans 24 Hours. Cameron Dance, who's currently sitting second in the field, he's won races such as the Indy 500, the Daytona 500 too, and in those events, he talks about how the track evolves, the grip, the marbles on the edges of the racetrack, how much grip is available at different points as well, as we see a number of moves potentially pulled off at turn 1 here down the middle end of the order. So a lot of realism there, Brendan, on iRacing, and they do a brilliant job, as well as laser scanning these tracks.
Yeah, even the undulations on the track, you can feel it. And when you get into a really nice rig, whether it's a Thrustmaster or a next level, you can really feel those undulations and the force feedback in the wheels. You saw earlier Damon McQueen trying to take a little look down the side in the Diwali yellow car right now. This is Team Tāmaki Makaurau, so we're promoting all fantastic things in Auckland coming up. And he's actually races for Synergy Sim Racing right now, so these guys are teammates with other E-Series drivers as well. So you know, we do have some current good talent out on track.
Yeah, we certainly do. As we said, 7 of these drivers with real-world motor racing experience, but the sim is a completely different beast. Have you had much experience yourself, mate, on the sim?
Oh, I would not preach to how fantastic I am, but look, drifting's my forte. Been in drifting a long time, and can get it sideways on the sims in this. But these guys, you know, you've really got to spend a lot of time to get to the craft that these boys are. Hundreds of hours, like I just mentioned, as McQueen now takes a look down the inside, coming through to the end of the section. Does he get it done on the inside? Does he get the advantage? Oh, tussles.
Yep, so Mulqueen now loses a spot to Matt Stevens. That's Matt Stevens, who was turned around on the opening couple of laps, making his way back up the order. Luke Webster, though, heads the back of the field in last place for the moment. Now, remember, in each of these 3 races, drivers are paid points. 10 points for the winner, and it goes down in increments all the way down to P10, who scores 1 point. And those are added here, Brendan, because remember, we're going to a reverse grid for race 2, but then race 3's grid is determined on accumulated points, and whoever scores the most points at the end of all 3 wins that wild card spot.
Yeah, it's a big opportunity as well to go through and compete against those all-stars. They're not competing against fellow gamers. They're actually in the main race, which can actually play into next week's esports supercars final, because Stanaway, you know, we're all about the Kiwis tonight. Well, Stanaway's in a mathematical chance. So this gamer, a lot of these guys are very fast against those iconic esport drivers, you know, the supercar drivers. So, you know, he's going to jump in with those drivers and potentially could leapfrog that championship. Will Team Orders come in for Team Tāmaki Makaurau next week? Well, whoever finds out and whoever wins that, you never know. Well, you have to tune into Watkins Glen tomorrow. What is it, next week? Wednesday night, Fox Sport and Sky TV.
Yeah, of course. It'd be 8 p.m. Not 8 p.m. It'd be, what time would it be in New Zealand there? 9 p.m. New Zealand time, of course, starting the stream, 9:30 on telly.
Right.
And so...
Just like in the real world, we have motorsport officials. So, you know, in Australia, Motorsport Australia, and New Zealand, Motorsport New Zealand. And I've just heard over race radio that there is a 5-second penalty that's been handed to Scott McQueen post-race. So that's going to put him, you know, right now we're all 131s in the top 4. So that's really going to hurt McQueen. He's going to have to do a flying finish to try to grab that back in race 2 or race 3.
And a 5-second penalty at the moment would place him in P9. He goes for a move at turn 3 on James Anderson for that P3 position, just in the background, of course, too. You can see the battles there. Scotty McQueen up to 3rd at the moment, a drifter, so you'll be well familiar with his territory. Anderson on the fight back. They're right up ahead there. There is Scotty McQueen in the pink livery. Anderson to the outside at turn 4 now. And we've seen a lot of incidents here over the years, but we hope those two keep it clean.
Yeah, Anderson has a fantastic, rich history. Andrew Anderson and his granddad also racing at Bathurst many times, shipping their cars over from New Zealand. If you can check them out, check out Andrew Anderson and the family's racing on Facebook. They're just so dedicated to it. Father and son, always sim racing. It's fantastic to see out there at the moment. 1 second, 131 in between the top 4 right now. Anderson sits a bit further back. Oh no, he's up to 3rd now. I do stand corrected. Kyle George out on front.
He's 4th on pictures anyway. It must be updating at the checkered flag, I guess, there. So it must not be a live update on the timing screen. Until they cross the line now. There we go. Scotty McQueen in the 3rd position. Jumps up a couple of spots. Talyancic driving well. He is a sim racing team owner, is Michael Talyancic, as Kyle George looks like he's got a lot of clean air up ahead to lead this race. Still under attack from Cameron Dance. But yes, going back to Talyancic there, Brendan, he owns a sim racing team, and a couple of his drivers actually race in the Cash Converters Supercars Eseries too.
Look, I want to just dive a bit deeper into here in sim racing versus real world racing. Michael says he uses a spotter during racing as well. What does that mean for the viewer at home?
Yeah, a spotter, of course, is somebody who's exactly like it works in, let's say, NASCAR. For any fans of NASCAR, is somebody who will sit in a tower and let you know how many car lengths a driver is behind, for example, who's alongside you. They help you with strategy. They act like an engineer, and you can do that on the iRacing service. How magnificent is it? When you watch the All-Stars and their own Twitch streams, for those who are familiar with them, they have their own engineers, and sometimes it can be their real-world engineers who step in and have a run themselves. Because remember, it's not just the drivers who are out of action during lockdown. The engineers also need something to do in their spare time.
How cool is that? The study and the hours that go into it. And that is what makes motor racing so fantastic to watch as well, is the strategy that plays out. So how cool is it to take that strategy out of the real world and actually take it into a simulation like this? And the simulation is getting more realistic as the technology grows year on year. Just like we talk about, the undulation, the braking, everything that you see on the track and you feel on the track, you can now feel inside these simulators.
And we talked about the laser scan tracks that iRacing produces, and this one they've done a magnificent job with. For Bathurst in particular, they put in around about 2 years worth of man hours to produce that circuit, and you can see everything from the letterboxes to the leaves, even where the leaves fall out on the circuit. That's been laser scanned, and you can see it accurately as it would be in the real world at the time of the laser scan. So they do that with all their circuits, and they do a phenomenal job of it too. Another battle here down the back of the pack. These are important points, of course, Brendan, because remember, it's not just about one race. It's not a knockout tournament. It is all 3 races tonight that count to your points tally.
Yeah, well, mini championship title fight going on here at the moment, so they've got to play it safe. I guess the fantastic thing to mention here is you're talking tens of thousands of photos to build up these tracks, just like the reality you see at Bathurst. What a race that was last night. I know I've talked about it already, but like, you know, to come down with 5 cars, almost a photo finish across the start line. It was fantastic, finish line, I should say. It was fantastic to watch, and you and Chad did a great job.
Yeah, as Matt Stevens here, just 1 sec, Brendan, is going for a move into the final couple of corners. That's an easy one. Back up into the 8th position after falling to last on lap 2 of this event. But it was a cracking race last night. It did feel like the real thing. And congrats as well, because there was a post-race penalty. Now, I'm not sure if this is official yet, but there was a post-race penalty to the Walkinshaw car of Mostert and Warren, and that promoted the Team Auckland car into the top 3 for a podium.
So that was the Stanaway and Elnaubi car you're talking about?
Yeah, correct.
So that plays into, obviously we're here with Team Tāmaki Makaurau. Yeah, look, it makes it very great for next weekend's Watkins Glen Grand Finale, as we now see Damon McQueen, number 42, that little move. Now he's going to get his sights on Damon up ahead. We'll see further down the pack there in the yellow Diwali Mustang. Now, if we're talking about these liveries right now, Diwali, you see the Bathurst boot party that's coming up as well. Bathurst, November, Mount Smart Stadium. If you're in New Zealand, the Bathurst boot party will be coming. It's a fantastic event where we're going to set up the whole stadium. Fans can come down, they can sit in front of the jumbo screen, they can watch it. There's got activations up the top of it as well. Right now on screen, representing the Bathurst, James B. Anderson. Where are we there? The family of motorsport from Kiwi, New Zealand, representing Western ITM out on his clothes. You would have seen that livery through the cars over the years. Fantastic stuff. But yes, when we get to Bathurst, obviously we had the virtual Bathurst last night, but when we get to it later on in a couple months' time, if you're in Auckland, check out the Bathurst boot party, and all you've got to do is check out the Repco website for more details on that right now.
Yeah, great job by Repco. They've been around for a while now. Repco, good to have them on board for the Repco Supercars Championship. That's going to be a wild couple of weeks heading to Bathurst in December. Never thought we'd ever hold Bathurst that late in the year. It sounds crazy, but anything's possible during a global pandemic.
Well, the thing is, everybody wants to go racing here, so if we can get it and we can mould and adapt and pivot, which is a fantastic thing that Supercars has done such a great job on pivoting to give the fans, and this is the great thing with what we've seen here with the esports series as well. It keeps us entertained, it gets us to see racing, and it gets us to see our favourite drivers on screen as well, and these guys to be able to compete against their, I guess, all-time heroes. As we see a little battle going on down the back as well. We come back to James Anderson.
Now, where's Anderson sitting? So Anderson's sitting 4th at the moment, attacking Scotty McQueen, who has that 5-second penalty, don't forget. And he will be demoted down the order. At the moment, that will place him 7th. So he has made up some time. Earlier, we thought he was going to fall down to 9th. But driving well at the moment in the Diwali Mustang up ahead. So James Anderson, you mentioned, has a lot of motorsport experience, said he's a 4th-generation racer in the family. Not only that, his grandfather has raced with Dick Johnson himself, and his father recently has raced in what's now known as the Dunlop Super 2 Series around a decade ago at Bathurst.
Yeah, Andrew Anderson is an all-time favourite of mine. Many, many years ago, I actually sponsored his dad for my magazine. So I've been involved with that family for some time. They've got a fantastic workshop out in the West Auckland as well, as we move further back up the field now to see this beautiful little battle going on.
Who's that? Is that Logan Barnett there? That's the oldest driver in the field. I don't want to remind him of it too much. He's in the 6th position at the moment. That will claim him. Now, what is that? It'll be 5 points to tonight's mini championship for the Wildcard tournament. Taliancic up ahead has been ahead of him pretty much most of the event after he made that move earlier on. Michael Taliancic, who, again, we said has been very experienced on the sim, but he admitted to me when I talked to him before the event that trying to catch these young guns, he just doesn't think he has the reaction time for.
Yeah, it's I guess following through the Supercars Esports series, the amount of time that some of these guys put into the sim racing, you know, you've got those guys that have the natural talent and they play it down 20 to 30 hours on a particular track, and then there's some guys that just spent hundreds of hours trying to hone their racecraft, and you know, it does see seat time does pay off even in the virtual world for some of these drivers.
Yeah, seat time's everything, especially sim racing. That was the talk of the town heading into Bathurst. Who's set the most laps? Who's put in the most hours? A lot of drivers had put in hours that were beyond ridiculous, as that was Talyancic running completely wide off the racetrack. One thing we should mention on iRacing is that the drivers accumulate what's known as incident points, or off tracks, and you can only cut the track a throughout the next couple of laps. We're about to say goodbye to the Red Bull Ring and head to Phillip. Throughout the next couple of laps, we're about to say goodbye to the Red Bull Ring and head to Phillip Island for the final couple of rounds. Up front, Kyle George has looked good and has led every lap so far to potentially claim home 10 points for his Wildcard Tournament Series charge.
Well, Barnett putting a lot of pressure on Talyancic right now, the number 7 car. I guess, Jonathan, where is he going to look at? Where's Barnett going to look at making his move? Would it be a slipstream down into turn 1, or is it in the back of this track where you've got to be full flat down 6th gear? Where's the ultimate passing corner for right now for Barnett?
Yeah, I think you've nailed it. It's got to be down the back straight. So into turn 3, and if you set up the move into 3, you can potentially pull it off into turn 4 as well. The race isn't over. It's not about winning this one. It's about accumulating the most points throughout the night. And right now, for the moment, Logan Barnett on the attack on Michael Talyancic for 5th position. An extra point to his name potentially. Let's use up and waste as many of those incident points as we can, because we're going to enter the final lap soon. And there we go, Logan Barnett to the inside, and he decides to make the move at turn 1, but it's going to leave him vulnerable on the exit. What a drift there. That's your style, isn't it?
Oh, beautiful. Gets it done.
Out of your book.
Gets it done, but yeah, he redresses. Important part, we saw last night as well, redressing if you go out to those track limits, but the game will obviously penalise him for that. And that opens the door up now for the Diwali Mustang to come on down on the inside. McQueen takes a look, closes it. Is he going to be able to close him out? He does. He goes too wide there, and he keeps it. Talyancic keeps the spot, number 7. Right now, the last lap. Are we on the last lap, Jonathan, already?
Yep. Yeah, last lap already, so 14 to 14. We've approached the 20-minute mark as well. Kyle George through the middle part of the lap. There he is in the number 910 Let's Play Live Commodore, that is. About to say Mustang there for a second. He's about to win this race and claim home 10 points to himself. He's driven ever so well, Kyle George. He's a driver, of course, who has joined iRacing for over a decade, and he's proven his good experience here tonight, who will take home race 1 of the Auckland Supercars Eseries Wildcard Tournament.
Beautiful stuff. Tāmaki Makaurau trying to find that wild card. Coming down the last corner now, down the front straight. He will get the checkered, and he will bid himself in and, I guess, release some of those nerves. Checkered flag. Kyle George takes out that 15 or 14. Interesting stuff. We'll fly the checkered flag. We don't have one actually on the front straight right now. Cameron Dance coming into 2nd position. And Scotty McQueen, unfortunately for him though, there will be that 5-second penalty, Jonathan.
Yeah, certainly. We think the race is over. They're still driving full speed. It's going to be over, of course, anyway. But, of course, yes, that penalty for Scott McQueen will set him back at the moment. Only one position to P4.
Yes, 1 lap to green. There we go. Well, that's interesting. iRacing. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. The first race, that was Red Bull Ring, the online qualifiers. And look, Kyle George is obviously going to be fantastic there. Scotty McQueen's going to be a bit disappointed, though, Jonathan, with that effort.
Yeah, of course. Now, the penalty, of course, is disappointing, but as a driver in this event, you've got to have a short-term memory. Look forward to the reverse gridder. That's going to be a lot of fun for us in the broadcast booth. It's going to be stressful for the drivers, though, in the cockpit. Yeah, look, the guys have shaked off their nerves. Now they've got used to the track. We get to your hometown track next. Phillip Island is coming up very shortly, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned. We'll be back with you shortly. Kia ora and good evening. Welcome back to the Auckland Cash Converters Supercars Wildcard event. What a fantastic first race that was at the Red Bull Ring. Jonathan, what was your favourite moment of that? A lot of good battling throughout the field, of course, but the dominance of Kyle George, I know the fans don't like one single driver dominating, but it was certainly a great result from him. Cameron Dance as well had a good race to file home in second. Here are the race, here's the highlights of the race, of course, coming up. We saw a lot of good battles, and Scott McQueen, of course, scored a penalty as well that set him back down the order too. Yeah, coming out strong and fast was Kyle George. Cameron Dance did well as in second position there, and it was great to see actually who the movers and shakers were of this event. Good little battles. There was lots of good little battles further down the pack, Jonathan, as well. Yeah, of course. So Matthew Pluck, of course, involved in a battle here down the order. Matt Stevens was turned around in the opening lap and made up a few spots too. He was down to 10th and had to make his way up the order and clean up some points here. Great battle with the number 7 there, Mateliancic, with Logan Barnett making a move on him in the 011 Game Tan car, but he got it all wrong and squirrely on the exit. But it was Kyle George who took home the checkered flag and 10 points to his name, but he'll have to start from the back coming up now in the reverse grid event. Yeah, so there you have it, folks. The leaderboard, 1 of 3. Cameron Dance in second position, 9 points. James Anderson, the young gun from Kiwi, 8 points to his name. Scotty McQueen, 7 points. Will be interesting to see how that affects him as we wrap up all the results later on in the night. And Michael's sitting on 6 points. Jonathan, 6th position. Damon McQueen. Yeah, Damon Mulqueen, a great racer, of course. He has a lot of speedway experience too, and he's a good lad as well. Starts down in... Now, where will he be for the reverse grid? That will put him in 5th for the reverse grid rent, so on the 3rd row. But what we saw in the Supercars E-Series draft, which had this very same format, is the driver who dominated the first race did not come out of the 3 races with the most points. So Kyle George in with a challenge in race 2. Yeah, well, we're here to mix it up at Team Tāmaki Makaurau's Wildcard. So the reverse is always something fantastic because you've got to work your way through that field. And it's going to be very interesting because we come to your hometown now, 2 hours of your door, the beautiful, iconic, picturesque coast of Phillip Island. Here you go, ladies and gentlemen, 14 laps, dry conditions, and the reverse grid. The cars that we're in, Jonathan? Yep, of course, the Mustang GT and the Holden ZB Commodore. We're going to retire these cars, as we said, at the end of the year, at least in the real world, before we move over to Gen 3. The unfortunate thing, though, about Phillip Island, Brendan, is we won't see any Cape Barren geese that will be simulated on the server, of course, too. There's a lot of those that cause some red flags in past races. Now, let's talk about the similarities or the differences between the first race, the Rebel Ring, very short, lots of different opportunities and corners. This layout, Phillip Island, what is the track makeup? And I guess it's a very left type circuit, I hear. Yeah, of course. It's a track for motorbikes. The camber is designed for drivers on 2 wheels. A lot of gravel traps, of course, too. Lots of undulation and a lot of challenges for the drivers. There's not a lot of overtaking spots, and it's not particularly easy to overtake around this wonderful circuit just north of the Bass Strait. But what I do love about Phillip Island as a venue is I've been to the commentary box there. It's lovely. It's one of the best you'll ever see in Australia and the world too. And it's got some sunny weather in the south of Victoria. Well, it's a premier circuit for the Australian circuits, and it's iconic too, just with that picturesque seascape when you can see the cars coming through the Supercar TV live broadcasts, and the history in it as well. You know, it's one of those, it's an older circuit for it, and tell us through some of that and some of that history for Phillip Island. I'll give you some Kiwi history, which I know the Kiwi viewers will love. The lap record around Phillip Island, set by Simon Willis in a Formula Holden. That was many years ago. And the current Supercars lap record held by 3-time champ Scott McLaughlin. He was a very good Kiwi, I would say. There's a lot of Kiwi history there, including Greg Murphy's big shunt with the wall. We'll go all through that with Phillip Island very shortly when we get into the race. Now, of course, it's all about Team Tāmaki Makaurau in Auckland and the beautiful sights and sounds that we see around the city. And one of them is Game Tan, and something that Auckland Unlimited has actually done is set up this unique aspect where you can actually, the young Māori and Pacific community, to get involved with technology through gaming. So if you want to know more about that and you're tuning in, just see down the bottom, you can see the website and you can head there and you can learn all about how to get involved with technology, e-sport, through those different communities. So we're moments away now from going to Phillip Island and the track layout, which is, I guess, an interesting aspect that, Jonathan, you're going to run us through. Yep, it's a 4.4 kilometre circuit anti-clockwise in nature, but 12 corners that provide a lot of challenges. Here's the pit exit. It's luckily we're not pitting today, otherwise it would cause a lot of dramas there on the rejoin. Turn 1, named after motorcycle legend and champion in Aussie motorsport of Mick Doohan. The Southern Loop, if you've ever visited Victoria, it feels like driving around the Great Ocean Road through the Southern Loop at Turn 2. Casey Stoner corner coming up, needs no introduction, Casey Stoner. And Honda, a difficult braking zone, very heavy, and a good overtaking spot. Next corner in Siberia through the middle part of the lap. Again, it's got a lot of camber, not visible from this shot, but on the inside of the corner. You have to hug it there to gain most lap time. Through Hayshed, difficult in a motorbike, but just straightforward on 4 wheels. And look at the elevation through Lukey Heights. 26 meters across the course of the layout, and then a 10-meter drop into the braking zone here into MG. Boy, that's a sight in the real world, and it looks as thrilling in the sim itself. A couple of short shifts to end the lap, couple of difficult final corners, and then on to the main straight and the Gardner Straight, named after Wayne Gardner, to end the lap at Phillip Island.
Beautifully, some historic names and iconic names in those corners in the front straight of Gardner. Beautiful analogy there, Jonathan. Where are the turns and the corners that the drivers are going to be sort of making their moves and that the fans should watch out for?
Normally you'd think turn 1's a good overtaking spot, but because Doohan Corner is a sweeping right-hander, Honda at turn 4 is your best overtaking opportunity, but it's also a hot spot, and it can also cause a lot of carnage. You could see, potentially, if we ran here again in the Cash Converters Supercars E-Series, there could be a lot of carnage and some safety cars that may be called out. But turn 10 at MG, another good overtaking spot. But the downhill braking zone, Brendan, boy, that makes it hard.
All right, so we go on trackside right now, and some scuffs, some marks there for Damien McQueen right now, the flag in the background.
Wow.
It's a big start. It looks like we're actually racing right now, Jonathan. So the race has started. Lap 1 of 14 here, your hometown, Phillip Island. Who's out in front, Jonathan?
Well, we'll try and figure it out. It looks like Luke Webster for the moment, at least according to the timing screen. Matthew Pluck also in there too. Remember, reverse grid race, so all your quick guys are towards the back. I see Kyle George in the Let's Play Live Commodore sitting down there in the 6th position so far. But for Damon Maltman, who started this race from 5th, that's a lot of carnage on the opening lap. That accident actually took place before turn 1. That's quite bizarre. Jason Bargwanna did something like that very, very similar years ago.
Well, this iconic moment was obviously between Jason Bargwanna and Greg Murphy. Big crashes over the years. One iconic moment at this track in particular as well. Luke Webster out front right now. Matthew Pluck, you know, massive history for Matthew Pluck in the sim world, and he will be vying to try to, these two drivers will be vying to maintain these positions the best they can, because that'll set them up really nicely. Someone goes way offline there down the front straight.
Yeah, that was Kyle George in the 910. So your points leader at the moment, all the way off the racetrack in the final couple of corners. So the order updates. It's Matt Stevens who leads from Telliansich, from Logan Barnett. Matthew Pluck's down to 4th now. James Anderson in 5th. Kyle George remains in 6th, I would believe, potentially. I don't think I see Damon Mulqueen in the race. I think that car is done, or he's entered the pit lane, I should say. He's had to repair that car, which is going to set him back a lot of spots.
So let's just educate the viewers here. Repair, so we've got real damage turned on right now, degradation, but they can also potentially blow their engine up or have a misdemeanor with the car.
Yeah, of course, you can do that on downshifts if you aggressively test the engine braking to its limits. You can do it in terms of car contact, just as you would in the real world. These cars are not as durable if you swipe a wall. You will find yourself not finishing from the race itself. So Logan Barnett, his challenge will be to keep it clean for the rest of the event here, but he'll also need to make a couple of moves if he's going to win this race.
Yeah, Logan Barnett representing Game Tanning, I alluded earlier. It's a great organisation. It's a space for kids, the Māori and the Pacific community in Auckland and around New Zealand. Creative technology. If you want to find out more about that, just get onto their website or check out the Visit Auckland Facebook page for more details. Logan Barnett, obviously, representing this in what I would imagine a unique environment for him. He's from the South Island, right down the bottom of the South Island, Invercargill actually, which is Tiratonga Raceway, so very similar to right now to the bottom of Australia, being at Phillip Island. Not a lot of information on Logan Barnett and his actual sim racing career, however, Jonathan.
Yeah, not one to sim race too often. Races for Send It Sim Sports. He did win a round of a series called V8 Scops. It's one of the premier supercars racing series out there, but that was split 2, so it was your second split of talented drivers, and that was at Alton Park, which is a fabulous British circuit. Oh, is that Matthew Pluck potentially losing? There it is, yeah, the background. I saw Matthew Pluck having some issues. He's run off the racetrack in the 51. No, it's not Greg Murphy with that iconic number, but for Matthew Pluck, some issues early in this event.
Right now we're Matt Stevens out in the lead, 1 minute 30. So ultimate track time around here, Jonathan. What's a supercar lap time around Phillip Island compared to a iRacing lap time?
Depends on the weather, doesn't it, with the iRacing lap times? We know in supercars, of course, I said the lap record here was set by Scott McLaughlin back in 2019, a 1 minute 30.9920. Brilliant time by the Kiwi. So far, we're already blitzing that with 39 degrees Celsius track temp, so a little bit quicker on the sim.
And supercar drivers, quite a few of them actually holding the lap records around here for GT. Jack LeBock in the Mercedes, and as you alluded, Scott McLaughlin in the Mustang. Formula Ford, Anton Di Pasquale as well, also holding the lap record for Phillip Island. So supercar drivers shining on through.
Yeah, certainly. Very good, talented drivers, the best of Australia and New Zealand, and hopefully some more when we get a few more international drivers in the fray. And critical for this Wildcard Tournament Championship right now is we haven't mentioned that Cameron Dance has some damage in his Commodore, and he's not even in pictures at the moment. He's sitting all the way down in 9th, but with Kyle George in 5th, he'll currently lead heading into that 3rd race this evening. And that's critical for him because he will get to compete next week. The way it's going at the moment, he'll get to compete with his favourite drivers from supercars.
You see the top right-hand side of your screen, the front leading pack up the top left, coming into turn 9 right now, all the way down the back. There's a lot of work to be done, unfortunately, on the track for him. Matt Stevens out in front, followed by Michael and Logan Barnett right now, as we see on your screen, 4 of 14. So we then go down to Anderson in the Bathurst Boot Party car. Beautiful thing. Greg Murphy and Richie Stanaway obviously making the comeback thanks to Boost Mobile. Even a private jet potentially mentioned there, Jonathan, to get them across for that iconic event.
Wait, repeat that. What did you say? A private championship?
Private jet. Private jet.
A private jet. I'm still trying to understand the Kiwi accents. Goodness gracious. You'd think spending my life for 20 years with a lot of Kiwi mates would make it easier, but it's always a challenge.
I'm going to take that one on the chin there, Jonathan. Yes, the Bathurst
it's a compliment.
The Bathurst Boot Party car. So I was alluding Greg Murphy and Richie Stanaway. Stanaway obviously now sitting in 3rd position for the All-Stars. The winner of this event, race 2 of 3, going through to be part of Team Tāmaki Makaurau. Big thank you to Auckland Unlimited for providing this. Unfortunately for us, Pukekohe Park Raceway, due to COVID, canned off the supercars calendar this year. No doubt we will see it return when things become normal again. But great to see Greg Murphy and Stanaway heading over on a private jet for Bathurst, potentially, thanks to Mr. Adderton.
Is it a private jet? Yeah, we'll see. He can certainly afford it, you would hope, Peter Adderton. And he's definitely a good businessman. It's good to see them both racing. Good to see a couple of Kiwis back in the field. Of course, Stanaway doing a great job in the Cash Converters Supercars Eseries. In with the championship shot next round. It's going to be a long shot for sure. That round at Daytona where he had a connection issue and a DNF really cost him dearly because he wasn't even classified to pick up around 30 or 40 points for finishing last.
Yeah, it was a massive blow. He pretty much would be leading the championship right now, would he?
I think it would be close. Off the top of my head, I know it's going to be close. Don't test my maths out like that. Is that you getting back at me for the
No,
Kiwi
not at all.
accent
Not
comment?
at all. Young, vibrant Kiwis. We love to see them in supercars, mate. We've seen them in McLaughlin. We've seen them in Vegasbergen. Maybe we need to, there's something about, must be in the water over here about coming over there and taking your championship. That's for me getting you back.
Yes. It's innate. Hey, I'm a fan of the New Zealander drivers. Greg Murphy competed as well, don't forget, in the E-Series. Great to have him because you don't often see the retired folks who used to previously race supercars at least 10, 20 years ago. Greg Murphy, a previous legend of the sport, as we know. But some more scraps going on down the order. Kyle George, who we mentioned, currently leading with 15 points. It'll be 16 now live with a P5 finish. Sitting behind James Anderson. Now, with no pit stops, tyre wear is going to get pretty much. It's going to be tough towards the end of the race, you would say, especially with track temps almost 40 degrees Celsius. So for these drivers, you're going to see the tyres get worse and worse and degrade more and more throughout the event.
You sit down to Luke Webster now, sitting on the right-hand side of your screen. Looks like the partner in the background watching him. Hello, yes, we can see you representing the Auckland car. Bit of damage to the Mustang, though, in the rear.
I'm not even... His challenge right now is just keeping it on the racetrack. I wouldn't even be bothered racing. Cameron Dance, though, behind is actually slower than him, and that goes to show how much damage Cameron Dance has, because we know he's a top 2 driver in the field. And let's see if we can't even catch him in the back of shot. That's how far behind Cameron Dance is so far. That'll set him back on the grid. Luke Webster, of course, too. This will set him back on the grid for the final race at Phillip Island of tonight's action.
Well, strong contention there from Kyle George, however, sitting up there in 5th position, representing United Sim Sports. He'll be happy with this. It's good to, you know, it's good points grabbing there. Matthew Pluck, obviously, sitting behind him. Scott McQueen needs to really jump up a couple of spots to try to redeem and get on the podium for tonight. But right now, with the way that the races are transpiring, Jonathan, who would you be a pick potentially for representing Team Auckland, Tāmaki Makaurau, next weekend?
Am I allowed to say Kyle George? Or is it too soon? He's been driving phenomenally so far. He's been doing a great job.
I'm going to go for the young gun from Kiwi of, you know, I don't know if we're actually allowed to say this, but hey, you know, we've got the microphone. So James Anderson doing a fantastic job there. A couple of glitches in the matrix there, but livery switches on back. James Anderson, 1 minute 30, sitting in 4th position, also a hot contender there, but front, you know, nice contention of front drivers out the front pack coming down the front straight now. Big disparity in between the bottom 4, however.
Yeah, so Matt Stevens, who leads this race, started from the 2nd row. Kaliancic started from 6th. Barnett from 4th on the 2nd row as well. James Anderson started from 8th, and Kyle George from last. That's your top 5. Nobody started on the front row from your top 5 positions in this reverse grid race so far. So there's been some carnage, but there's been a lot of overtakes as well, as I just caught a glimpse in the background of, now was that Kyle George, who's made his way past James Anderson? It is. Kyle George is ahead into P4. Fantastic work there. Now, I hear Phillip Island is notoriously tough on tyres. How will that work with the degradation and what we're seeing right now, coming into pretty much just over the halfway point of the race? Yeah, I spoke to a lot of E-Series drivers, and this was about a couple of weeks ago when we raced here, and they said it's just like the real world. Degradation is high around here, and it certainly influenced strategy. Unfortunately for that race, it was a bit of a fuel drop race, so that had more of an influence than tyres, but you certainly feel it. The drop-off can be anywhere between half a second to 1 second for a fresh set, but with such a short race tonight, I don't think you'll see anybody dive into the lane, because you just can't make up that time that you lose in the pit lane. Now, Phillip Island was, in the early days, was actually renowned, before Bathurst became Bathurst in the iconic endurance race. It was all about Phillip Island in the 60s and 70s. That was, I guess, the precursor before Bathurst in endurance racing in Australia, before Bathurst came into mix, is what I've been told. But ironically, I guess it's more known as a MotoGP and a motorbike track, the circuit, than a racing circuit for the four-wheel sport. Yeah, of course, with the first racing that occurred here back in 1928. That's how long this circuit has been in existence, almost 100 years. But the current Grand Prix circuit that we're racing on was built in the 1950s. And as you say, it was specifically designed for motorbikes. And it was something that, of course, Casey Stoner's won here many times, took out a lot of races, did Casey Stoner. I saw somebody off the racetrack there in the background. Someone from your top 3. It wasn't Logan Barnett, was it? We'll wait for the I think replay. It was. Yeah, actually it was. I can't see him in picture. Logan Barnett was 3rd going into the lap. He's 3rd on the timing screen, but he's not 3rd on track. So I certainly think he's ran off the track at Honda. Spotting the number 51. We can't see him, as we have a switch in liveries for a switch moment there. Yeah, there we go. So who's that? That's Logan Barnett. Yeah, he's in 5th. Oh no, is that James?
Yeah, that's Logan Barnett. That's Logan Barnett. The game 10, number 00011. A little bit sideways.
Oh, he's having some fun, isn't he, on the exit? Oh, and again, look at that drift. He's having fun, isn't he? We're putting on a show for the cameras, Logan Barnett, 40 years of age, and doing a great job so far this evening. He's placed well. He's actually going to claim some good top 5 finishes here in these first 2 events.
Can you explain to me, for the viewers at home, and we're seeing on the top left-hand side of the screen, we see the numbers coming up. They go green, they go red, they go green. Is that something to do with official calls, or is it?
I'd love to figure out what in the world that is. I think it's to do with position changes, I would assume.
Right, and you see that in the middle of the screen, yeah. You see the arrows going up and down in their position changes. Matt Stevens up 1, Michael up 5, and as they cross over the line, we get the refresh on the timing system. Come back to James Anderson now in the Bathurst Boot Party. 4 laps to go for the young Kiwi, sitting in 4th position at the moment, hunting down Kyle George, who's done a phenomenal job as well tonight.
Yeah, Kyle George, as we said, have done a great job, but Matt Stevens up ahead. Fascinating story with him. Has met Liam Lawson, who's currently a very quick Kiwi racer. Races a lot of open wheelers you may know overseas in Formula 2 and Formula 3, currently racing in the F2 series. And he met Matt Payne, who races in our All-Stars E-Series and could potentially be a future Supercars driver. They met through Liam Lawson, and the 3 of them are good mates. And he's actually using some equipment tonight, is Matt Stevens in the lead. Some of that equipment is borrowed from both Liam Lawson and Matthew Payne themselves.
How cool is that? The young guns. Karting, a big part of getting kids into it, and many of these drivers that you see out on track right now have gone through Karting New Zealand, the various race tracks. Matt Stevens doing it from the Mount Wellington car track, now actually out at Collindale Park in Auckland, but a beautiful, iconic part of New Zealand motorsport history, the Mount Wellington car track. Back with James Anderson now, another person that has a strong family history in motorsport, especially in New Zealand and Auckland.
Yeah, I said this yesterday about the Brabhams, but imagine sitting in on Christmas dinner with the Andersons. They'd be like, oh, this is for the lead right now, the number 10. Is that Telly-Ansich there going for a move for P1 with just a few laps remaining? And he's alongside Matt Stevens, heading through into Siberia now on the exit. The 2 are going to challenge each other, but have a look who's ready to pick up the scraps. Kyle George in the background. Telly-Ansich, though, has to concede and will remain in P2 for the moment.
Now, last night we saw some touching, some door-to-door action, and we saw some redressing. So, which was, I guess, great to see. Great sportsmanship and camaraderie. What happens in this scenario? Does the computer say, "Oh, he goes for it again. He looks on down the inside. Is he going to get it done? Are we going to see some? Oh, beautiful move there. Little bit of a touch on that massive dip down. Doesn't get it done again."
Oh, a brilliant battle between these 2, and as I said, look at Kyle George ready to pick up the scraps. Will he claim 2 victories to his name and even win a race in a reverse grid event? We've never had someone do that in the Supercars E-Series. Nobody has been able to win both the first race and then the reverse grid race. This would be a phenomenal job from Kyle George, but he still remains in P3 for the moment.
Well, playing it safe may be the option here, letting these 2 battle it out, slug it out, and looking for the mistake and looking for the opportunity. I mentioned it, karting, how much, I guess, influence that has had. Kyle George, 4 to 5 years of karting, 3 seasons in Formula First in motorsport. You know, he's almost won a championship there as well. So he will have good racecraft. He knows just to sit back and see what happens with these 2. But we're cranking down. 2 laps to go. Lap 12 of 14 here. Takes another look on the inside, goes to the outside.
I got a bit nervous there into the braking zone. It looked like he overcooked it, didn't it? I'm talking about Telly-Ansich, but he managed to pick it up together on the exit.
Well,
now,
that's where we'll potentially be seeing that tyre degradation come into effect now as they push a bit harder for these last 2 laps. We'll be watching who's conserved the most. And one thing with Kyle George is to make those moves all the way up through the field. How much tyre does he have left versus these front runners?
Yeah, and it's temperatures too. So you bring up a good point there. It's not only degradation, it's the tyre temperatures as well. You don't want to be sliding around, as we saw Logan Barnett having some fun in the background, because that'll just make the car very slippery and wipe all the grip from the virtual Dunlop rubber. And look at the lap time so far, 1 minute 30.4. Pole position here in the E-Series a couple of weeks back was a 27.8. That's how slippery and that's how slow this racetrack is at the moment. These drivers are going to be struggling for grip.
Talianchi looks down the outside. He's right on the back bumper of Stevens. He goes a bit wide though. Manages to get it back on the track. Gets it on the black stuff. George just sitting there waiting for the mistakes to happen. 13 of 14. What a fantastic way for race 2 here at Phillip Island. Let's play live. The guys next door going ecstatic that it's their company flying down the back.
Yeah, good representation. On the defensive is Stevens. Oh, what's happened there? Vanished for a second. A bit of a technical issue, but remains back. Almost went to a different atmosphere for about half a second. He still remains in the lead. That can cause a lot of troubles too and can really distract Taliancic, but he's very experienced and he would know to back out of that one to not cause trouble.
Talianchi, Ancic, I should say, number 10. Actually meant to be in a LPL livery as well, but little glitch in the matrix, so it should be 2 Let's Play Live cars out in front at the moment, but we see Kyle George representing Let's Play Live in the back.
Yeah, we'll give him some love. He was supposed to load into the Mustang, but he's accidentally loaded up into the Commodore, so he's going to be racing in that today. So he does look a little bit different.
Seems to be working for him for now.
It would pretty much look, because isn't the livery inverted, or it's pretty much similar to Kyle George's behind, so that would have been a great shot. We'll do some photoshopping after the event for him.
All right.
White flag.
There we go. Last lap here at Phillip Island for race 2 of Tāmaki Makaurau's Wildcard Series for the Repco Supercars Championship Esports Series presented by Cash Converters. How many rounds are you down now, Jonathan?
We are down 5, heading into the final round next week to the Hungaro Ring and Watkins Glen, where the winner of this event will take part.
Will it be Kyle George on the last lap? Where are we spotting for this passing? Where's going to be the move that they will make, Jonathan, on this last lap?
It's got to be Honda. You've got to look for it right here. But does he want to take the risks? That's the question. Why go for it? You're going to score a good haul of 8 points here. You're going to have pole for the final race. That's all you need. And you know you're going in for a good shot next round, or for the next race at Phillip Island, to claim the overall winner of this Auckland E-Series Wildcard tournament.
Well, right now, I think it's all about Kyle George, and it's going to be his to lose, coming all the way from the back of the pack. Sitting behind him in the young gun, James Anderson from Kiwi. Right now we're on board with number 2, Michael Talianchi, who is going to put the pressure on. We come down to some of the last corners, down to the dipper. What a fantastic elevation change for a racetrack, something that we really need in New Zealand is some high elevation changes. Someone needs to build a racetrack with ups and downs like we see in some of these circuits.
It'll be a great play. Well, New Zealand's got a lot of great circuits, but for the moment, Matt Stevens won't be worrying about that. He takes the checkered flag, takes victory. Taliancic follows on the podium. They all kept it clean in the finish to claim some good points for that third and final event later on. Kyle George claims third, and a brilliant result by James Anderson to score a top 4 finish as well behind. It was a good race. I quite enjoyed that one between the top 3. We go into the last one with a scrambled grid now. We know Damon Mulqueen has failed to score some good points. Cameron Dance finished a lap behind after some damage in the opening stages of the race. But this guy, Matt Stevens, will be enjoying that one. Some good confidence going into race 3 later this evening. Yeah, that was a fantastic race. I really enjoyed it as well, and it's great to see that we've actually got polar opposites. We've got the karting kid of Kyle George coming through, not as seasoned as some of the veterans of Stevens. So it's going to be great to see how this last race and who picks up the wildcard entry to go alongside Stanaway and El Nabi next weekend. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. There's one race to go. Back to Phillip Island after the break.
Kia ora and welcome back to Auckland. Tāmaki Makaurau for the wild card of the Cash Converters Supercars Esports Series. My name's Brendan White and we just witnessed a fantastic race 2 from Phillip Island. Jonathan, what did you take of that?
It was a good race. We had a scrambled grid and something that was very different to what we normally don't get. But the difference is now, the final race, the grid is determined on accumulated points, and that's going to make the difference here. We are expecting Kyle George to take home this victory this afternoon and the wildcard slot. But there was a lot of action at the beginning of this race, and there's the trouble. It did look like a Barguana incident at the beginning of the race, and that took out Damon Mulqueen for the rest of this event.
Yeah, fantastic racing there, and Kyle George just climbing up so fast through the field. It was Matt Stevens out front, and it was his to lose as he led through with Michael, but Kyle George did the job and climbed up through the ladder. There was a couple of moments there where we thought there could be some big crashes like at the start, but it really got interesting down the end there through the dipper between these two racers, and Kyle George just sat back and watched it unfold, but it was all about Matt Stevens in the lead.
Matt Stevens did a phenomenal job right now, but he's not going to start from pole in this final race. We'll take a look at the standings in a moment's time, but he's driven well today. Teliancic set a number of fastest laps in that one, but there we go. Teliancic will start from third. He's got he doesn't have the tiebreaker on Anderson. Oh, he should actually with the second place there, so I take that back. Stevens starts from fourth, race victor from the previous one. How about Kyle George, though, in first? Now, the trick is, for Cameron Dance, it's all about the start now to make up some positions. We know he has top 2 pace, but he's going to need a miracle to take home the wildcard victory with 11 points.
Really interesting, Jonathan, to see him so far down there. Scott and McQueen also a bit low there. So it's about those top 5 drivers and the start of this track. The track that we just saw before. We'll have a look at this track guide again for Phillip Island today. 14 laps, dry conditions again, seeding race and 1 and 2. So, Jonathan, what does that mean for the viewer at home for the seeding and the cars I'll be racing?
Well, it means, as I said before, that the grid is going to have a whole heap of talent scattered throughout the grid. You've got drivers like Damon Mulqueen and Cameron Dance out of position. Kyle George up ahead will need to break the slipstream. We saw what happened in round 4 of the Cash Converters Supercars Eseries. The slipstream meant everything, and it's going to mean big here today as well.
All good. All right, so we are here for the wild card. Thank you to Auckland and Tāmaki Makaurau. Auckland Unlimited presenting this. Part of the sights and sounds of this fair city is also Diwali coming up. If you want to know more about Diwali and the awesome cultural things of the Indian community in the Auckland region, check it out online. You can go to the website right now and we'll find out more about Diwali and the guys that are running the livery through the final race, race 3, of course, from Phillip Island. So just right there on the lower of your screen. Jonathan, let's make some bets here. I'm going to go still with my pick. Young Anderson from Kiwi, Auckland. Who's your pick on? And you can't say Kyle George.
Oh, I can't say Kyle George. I was about to be rich. He's going to make a lot of money. I'm not sure right now. I have to go with Teliancic then. He set a number of fastest laps in that event. He was very quick at lighting up the timing screens. He's looking pretty good.
Watch out for the dark horse Cameron Dance as well. Now let's talk about money and Bitcoin and prize money. There is actual real prize money on the line. Whoa. Some sort of prize money on the line for the grand finale. Fill us in on that, because these guys aren't just competing for a chocolate fish, are they, next weekend?
No, they're not. Of course, that is excellent to have that prize money on offer for them. Now, the other thing as well with that is, I talk about investing, you talk about betting on this race. You take that prize money home and you can take it to sim equipment. You can also convert it to cash. You can buy yourself some equipment to get yourself some good machinery, and you can get yourself load settle pedals like a Thrustmaster wheel, get yourself a next level racing rig and cockpit. Anything like that would be magnificent to your sim racing endeavors.
Look, if you guys want to get into motorsport and you're just tuning in, what Jonathan is alluding to right now is a fantastic, cheap alternative to building a race car. Of course, we all want to see you out on the racetracks like Phillip Island, but if you get onto your local supply, get onto Next Level, and you can actually see some of the gear that you're seeing these sim racers use right now, and the reality, like we've already alluded to, is so similar to the real circuits, Jonathan.
Yeah, and sim racing is a good training tool for the real drivers. They actually use it in terms of, it doesn't actually feel like the real thing, although they try to make themselves do that, and they try to really simulate this as accurately as possible, do iRacing. But it's a good training tool for racecraft, for driver techniques and different practices. Phillip Island's a challenging circuit that you jump into, and it's one that is a challenge like no other, 2 hours south of Melbourne in Victoria. And here is the flyover for the final race and round of the evening. Again, through Stoner Corner, we saw a lot of overtakes through here at Honda throughout the event and a lot of challenges as well. If you don't get the move done, though, into here, Brendan, at Siberia, that becomes a big challenge for the rest of the lap because it essentially becomes single file, you could say, in a sense, but not really. Sometimes we see some two-wide racing through the back end of the lap at Phillip Island. A big rise through Lukey Heights, named after Len Lukey, and then the drop into MG at turn 10. Throw the car into the apex, short shift on the exit, and gain as much lap time as possible. I've learned a lot of tips there from the real race car drivers. They're the guns. They're the ones who do a magnificent job around here. I'm too slow to compete with them. That's why I'm stuck in the commentary booth. Kyle George from first, Michael Taliancic in second. You can see the line locker engaged for the final round of the championship. 14 laps of action coming up. Great start, it looked like, from George. But Taliancic also challenging to the outside. There he is. There's the number 70 of James Anderson. Scotty McQueen with a ball getaway. He's actually dropped down a couple of spots here at the beginning. Cameron Dance with a good start too.
Yeah, nice clean start so far from the 10 New Zealand Kiwi drivers, all vying for that one spot. Right now it's Kyle George's to lose, and the Let's Play Live Mustang out in front. Anderson will be pushing to do everything he possibly can to fend off the challenge behind him. He's one sitting up there for this title fight as well. Cameron Dance in sixth position, down a position already. He's not going to like that. That could vie him out right now. But the top three looking clean. We look at that. They get through the corner. Oh, a little bit sideways on a lot of them as they warm up those tyres on lap one for the last one. Matt Stevens out in front right now. On the right hand side of your screen though is James Anderson.
James Anderson looking calm, looking fresh, and racing around with what looks like either a curved monitor or triple screens, which is what you see a lot of sim racers use for best field of view around the racetrack. James Anderson there with a number 70 boot party livery by Repco. Good to have them back on board for the series one more time. That's going to be a great event at the end of the year for the Bathurst 1000. Kyle George, though, looks like he might be untouched, but it's great to see Michael Taliancic keep himself honest here at the start of the race. 6/10 behind, and the slipstream means everything at Phillip Island too.
Yeah, Cameron Dance, and we're going to see that down the front straight right now. Cameron Dance actually sitting what looks like in potentially fourth position. The Battle of Jacks Ridge livery coming up November the 13th, 14, folks, if you want to see that. Beautiful single formation down the front straight. Auckland on the bonnet. Cameron Dance doing everything to get around James Anderson. He's having a look down on the inside. Doesn't quite get it, not close enough. It does open the door behind him as well, though, for potentially Stevens. Lap 2. The gap extends out on the front leaders right now for Kyle George. The Let's Play Live cars leading the way.
And Kyle George only needs to finish in the top 7. It doesn't matter if he wins this race. It will be a good sense of prize here. Some good battles down the back end of the order here. So,
oh, a move, big move there. Does that look like Cameron Dance? Does he get the move? Shift position.
I got a bit confused there for a second.
we had a matrix glitch with the liveries going on again. It is James Anderson. I think he's just lost the position potentially.
Yeah, potentially as well. So we'll try and establish and pick apart this. Oh, it's definitely a huge ball of string to unravel. We think Matt Stevens is in 5th. Goes for a move on James Anderson. There he is at the top of shot. So that is Matt Stevens going for a move on James Anderson, who's sitting in 5th. James Anderson now drops down the order. So another position loss for Anderson. 2 in 1 lap and a big double whammy.
Yeah, Matt Stevens out in front of James Anderson now. Unfortunate for him, it does look like the riding might be on the wharf. Anderson started off so solid, but now we get a look at Matt Stevenson's in his TUI rig. Little sim setup, you see quite a regular around the New Zealand racetracks for sim racing. Goes down on the outside now. Tries to gain that position back. Stevens on board. The fight's not over. Position back to James now.
Yeah, good scrap now between these three. So George from Taliancic from Dance. Those three are certainly going to be competing for the victory. Taliancic hasn't actually fallen back too far from Kyle George. The gap now around about 6/10 live at the moment. Great scrap. Stevens in the 73, Anderson in the 70, and then the 011 car of Logan Barnett, who made an error here in the previous race in race 2 and gets that corner right this time round in P6. Now, you might think for some of these drivers, if they're not in with a chance of victory, it's still in with a chance of good confidence. And for some of these drivers too, as well, Brendan, this will be the biggest stage they've ever raced on.
Indeed, mate. It's bragging rights. You know, there's still a podium, first, second and third, just like at the normal racetrack. And like you say, we're right now live on Sky Sport and live across Australia and New Zealand. Thanks for tuning in. Oh, sideways there for Logan Barnett in the Game Tan car. Game Tan, check it out online. Beautiful. Uniting the Māori and Pacific Islanders, getting into gaming and technology throughout New Zealand. Big thanks to Auckland Unlimited and Tāmaki Makaurau for that, as we see Logan Barnett on screen right now. We switch on down to the Diwali Mustang of Damon McQueen. Now, if you guys don't know about Diwali, another little plug there for Auckland. Check it out on Auckland Unlimited's website. It's a celebration of everything traditional and new for the Indian culture that resides in Auckland City. So representing Diwali, and you know, usually we have Diwali festival in Auckland as well. Currently 4 laps of 14, a bit further down the field right now, Jonathan.
And of course, Damon Mulqueen, who we said has some speedway experience. He's certainly been around on iRacing for quite some time as well. Holds an iRacing of 2.6k. It's not magnificent, but also pretty much above average of most iRacers too. And he's currently teammates with Wayne Burke, who competes for Kelly Grove Racing in the Supercars Eseries.
We'll take a look a bit further afield now. Matt Stevens, the concentration on the face, leaning on into the corner, really getting into it in the simulator.
Yeah, that's Cameron. Yeah, exactly. So this is Cameron Dancer watching in the Battle of Jacks Ridge Commodore. And Dance, we spoke about, was previous teammates with Liam Lawson in Formula First. Has a lot of Formula First experience. For those outside of New Zealand, that's also known as Formula Vs. So a car you can also drive on iRacing and pick up yourself. But he's trying to make amends for that poor result in race 2. Currently sitting third and sitting in a position where he won't claim that wildcard spot to race next week in the All-Stars at Watkins Glen. That will so far go to Kyle George, who has the fastest lap so far.
It's cracked into a 129 now. The only one to crack the 129s. Fantastic. Greg Murphy recently competing in the Cash Converters Supercars Esports Series in the Battle of Jacks Ridge livery. And we'll see him back at the Battle of Jacks Ridge, November the 13th to 14th. And of course, we'll see them at Bathurst. Thanks to Peter Edgerton and the Boost Mobile team. Stanaway. Everybody right now is competing for that one chance, the wildcard entry for next weekend's grand finale, which looks like right now it could be the man out in lead in the Let's Play Live Mustang of Kyle George, to sit along not the pros, to sit along the All-Stars. First time we've seen that for a gamer here in New Zealand.
Yep, the 29-year-old from Hamilton, New Zealand. And he's got about 4 to 5 years of karting experience. He himself, I'm sick of mentioning it, but he himself has also raced in Formula Vs and Formula First. So many drivers, we said 7 of 10 of them have real-world racing experience. He works as a welder and a fabricator, loves his speedway, and will certainly be loving that wildcard spot today. A lot of love for Let's Play Live. 2 of their cars in the top 2.
Well, they chose the right team to back on the livery tonight. Now, if you're tuning in and you're wondering how to get into motorsport, well, sim racing is a great way, ladies and gentlemen. You can check out Let's Play Live website to learn more, or you can get yourself a rig like the man down on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. You don't need such an intense setup. It looks like a Thrustmaster setup he's running. You can just do it off your normal Xbox and get into it. From there, I'd love you to move into karting. Get into karting. Kart tracks all across New Zealand. Thousands of people do it, like we've seen with Kyle George, Liam Lawson, all the iconics, Scotty McLaughlin, you name it, Shane Van Gisbergen, they've all started in karting. And then you can get onto Motorsport New Zealand's website or Motorsport Australia's website to learn more. Racetracks across New Zealand, lend a hand, wave a flag, be a volunteer, or take out mum's car and do a track day.
Well, yeah, that's the safest way to do it. We do condone going to track days. It's good fun. Crash out your car, do it safely. And Kyle George will be having some fun on the sim, doing as much of that as possible. Saw a pass in the background, though. Was that Logan Barnett, Damon Mulqueen, perhaps, down in the background? So some action still taking place throughout the field. This lap, anyway, Matthew Pluck has fallen to some issues. Look at the track map. Matthew Pluck has fallen down from the pack. Sitting in 9th to begin the lap, now down to 10th. And his event could be over.
Really unfortunately for Matthew Pluck, because he's had a strong career on iRacing, and you know he's done well in the e-sport round. So he's also raced karts for over 15 years. Unfortunate for him, you know, we've seen him in many Let's Play Live championships, but way down the line here. Now we go back up the field to Michael in car 10. Concentration on the face, glued to the screens.
You've got to be around Phillip Island, a circuit that demands so much. You've got to drive to the cambers of the racetrack and just lean into the corners, as we saw Cameron Dance do earlier. They head over to the Southern Loop.
Well,
A thrilling corner.
I tuned in last night and I was watching your eSport broadcast, and I saw one of the drivers coming down Conrod Straight, 300 odd clicks, and he decides just to take a drink live on screen. Was that Kostecki?
That was Brody Kostecki. That was during his pole position shootout lap around Mount Panorama as well. So he's bossed it, essentially.
Bossed it.
Ended up winning the event later on.
The doctor of the
Olympus
house.
Racing squad. He's a very fancy sim racer. By the way, he actually has world records on the sim. For a real-life driver to be that quick on the sim is not unheard of, but something you don't see often as well.
Impressive. We're in a bit of a silly season now. I see a lot of re-signs or movements within the teams.
Don't get me started.
Getting ready for 2022 and beyond. Anything you want to fill us in on, or give us a sneak peek while we're live here?
That's been, mate, that has been doing my head in. There is so much news that you've got to keep, track of. I can confirm that Nick Percat is leaving Brad Jones Racing. He's going to be heading somewhere else. He's announced that. That was a very, very tough move to make for him after he's been with that squad for 5 seasons now. Andre Heimgartner will likely take his spot. He's signed with the Brad Jones Racing team. We could see Jack Smith return. Who knows what's happening at Tickford? We expect Cameron Waters to return alongside Tom Randall. There's so much going on as well. And let's not forget 888 with the signing of Brock Feeney, the young gun,
How
to
cool
replace
is that?
7-time champ Jamie Whincup.
What a tease as well. They dragged us on for a while with that, wondering to know who it is, and fantastic addition to the team. For 888. We see here now on board with James Anderson. Unfortunately for him, a bit further down the field than he wanted to be, with such a strong couple of races ahead. The Bathurst 1000 boot party. We mentioned it a bit earlier on. If you haven't tuned in and you're in Auckland and you can't get along to Bathurst because of the borders in MIQ, well, you can go to Mount Smart Stadium in December, when we now move to Bathurst, and be part of the awesome activation that is there. All sorts of things that will be happening during the day, rallying, drifting up in the activation zone, including Bathurst on the big screen throughout the day. So James Anderson representing that, and no doubt he will be there as well. As we move now to Matt Stevens, who's sitting in 4th position, the karter, leaning on into the corner, representing Tāmaki Makaurau, number 73.
You mentioned boot party. Credit to Repco for the name of that too. It sounds cool, boot party. It's something I want to be a part of, just hearing it, let alone you describing what exactly the event is. So that's a great initiative by them. Matt Stevens sitting in 4th today. Has actually driven quite well, you would say, in the 73. Taking home some good results as well. We spoke about his friendships with both Liam Lawson, who races in Formula 2, and of course Matt Payne, who will step from Porsche Carreras to potentially across the pond. Who knows if you'll jump in a Super 2 car or manage to get his super license and jump straight into the Kelly Grove supercar for next year.
Oh, fantastic to see. And some moving and shaking from Lawson as well overseas. Definitely eyed, and potential Formula 1 debuts coming in coming years, which is fantastic for the young Kiwi. As we move to the Battle of Jacks Ridge car now, representing. That's another event coming up in Tāmaki Makaurau very shortly, if you're in Auckland or New Zealand. November the 13th to 14th, Shane Van Gisbergen winning it last year in the Rally Art car, the AP4, the Auckland Mega Jump, where he got massive 40 metres of air. The Battle of Jacks Ridge, an event you cannot miss. Tickets are on sale now, sold out last year. It's one that you definitely want to be a part of if you're a rally fan. The WRC Spec stage, built by Andrew and Jack Hawkswood, just 20 minutes south of Auckland. Lap 9 of 14 right now on board. Is that a position change, or is it Cameron Dance doing just ever so well, sitting in 3rd position?
No, he's sitting in 3rd, remains in 3rd for most of this event since the start. Picked up a couple of cars. Michael Taliancic has been hunting down Kyle George for most of this event. Set a 1 minute 30.5 last lap round. Kyle George 2/10 slower with a 30.7. Taliancic right in the clutches of the slipstream here, 8/10 behind. And the drivers have talked to me that the slipstream is worth everything. And iRacing also simulate the side draft too. That can make a huge difference.
Are you a sim racer yourself, Jonathan? You get in there and you get some seat time?
I used to. I definitely used to back in my uni days, but now not so much. Focusing more on the broadcasting side now. Not much time for it.
hours, hundreds, if not thousands of hours
hours.
inputted by these guys. It's ridiculous. It's just like a real race car driver. I mentioned earlier, seat time is key. Disparity, there's quite a big gap going on here compared to the last race. Do you think that we're going to see these split times and these times close up as we get down to the last 4 laps, Jonathan?
Yeah, I think so. Kyle George will be nervous. There's no reason to be, because remember we said that he needs to finish in the top 7 to advance. So yeah, so right now he's safe, even if he loses a couple of positions. But any errors, you get nervous. Now, some race car drivers get nervous at different points in the race when you speak to them. It's very interesting. Some get nervous during qualifying on the shootout lap. Some get nervous just waiting for the grid before the start of the race. Some get nervous on the final laps of events. It's all different. I think with Kyle George, he's looked well poised and well ready to take on the challenge of the All-Stars next week.
Yes, he actually won the New Zealand version of the esports Supercars Series. I think last year. He's got a lot of seat time, 10+ years in the sim. But he's a welder and fabricator during the day, so he's going to have to potentially call in sick for the next week and have a bit of a cough so he can get some practice ahead of Watkins Glen.
You've ruined it for him now. He was planning on calling in sick, and now you've ruined it. So his employers watching won't be. No, we're just kidding around. But for Kyle George, he'll, of course, need to put in a lot of practice time. That's something I spoke to Jake Burton about, who races for the Brad Jones Racing team. And he said that, you know, for him, he's been coming home from work straight on the sim for the past 5 weeks in the E-Series. That was a brilliant drift there by James Anderson on the exit, who's being hunted down by Damon Mulqueen. But again, everything like that is simulated on the surface. That will just increase his tyre temperatures and certainly increase the degradation too.
We look further afield. Kyle George still with the only one, sitting at a 1:29 at the moment. Loves speedway as well, the young man. Michael, unfortunately, in second. He says still got a chance to close that gap. We go further down the field right now. Back to the Bathurst boot party. And below him, number 73 of Matt Stevens. James Anderson on the right-hand side of your screen. Matt Stevens representing Auckland. Tāmaki Makaurau, 4th position currently for him. Be happy with the result, as you said, Jonathan. Not going to be a podium unless he can really close that gap between himself and Cameron Dance right now. Not too far off his times, but just not close enough.
Yeah, you can't be matching him. You've got to be catching him at this rate. He sits around about 3.5 seconds behind Cameron Dance. And so with only 3 laps remaining, that's about a second a lap. That'll be a mammoth lap time. You'll have to come up with Mark Scaife levels of talent to end this race. And I don't think he'll be capable of that, unfortunately, as good of a driver as he is.
Or you could say Scaife or McLaughlin or Coulthard. 2019, the last time Supercars actually visited Phillip Island. It was scheduled on the tour, in the rejig tour this year, but unfortunately dropped again. But that Mustang, the beautiful DJR Penske livery 2019, which saw, I think, race 9, it was either Scotty, and race 10, Coulthard take it out. What a finish that was. Not back, hopefully back next year.
Yeah, hopefully. Unfortunate that it was off the schedule, along with a lot of rounds. I was looking forward to going to Winton in a week or two, but that's also off the cards too. As we've had a lot of winners around Phillip Island, not only in the real world, but virtually. Some of the winners include Scott McLaughlin, who won the first ever All-Stars E-Series race. Jack LeBrock won the reverse grid race afterwards. And that was off a penalty because Anton de Pasquale, we remember, tagged him into the final corner and ended up crossing the checkered flag and taking the checkered flag in first place. But a post-race penalty set him off the podium for that collision.
And unfortunately, on board, I think, with Matt Stevens on the right now, Cameron Dance on screen. One lap to go.
So he's got his spotter on board. His spotter, Simon Mazzomo, is helping him out. And that's somebody, as we discussed earlier, acts like an engineer. Gives you all the advice, all the data that you need. But I think with this race over in the last couple of laps, it's up to Cameron Dance just to bring it home. He's having some fun on the exit. Gives us a little bit of a drift, some opposite lock too. We've seen a lot of drivers do that through the Southern Loop. Kyle George looks set to take, how about that? Another victory. 2 from the night, and potentially as well a spot in the final round of the Cash Converters Supercars Eseries. Yes, next week at Watkins Glen. Potentially, it's not over yet.
Next Wednesday, tune in and you can catch Chad, Crompo and yourself filling them in. What do they win? Jonathan, what do you win if you win the Supercars Esports Series?
Not actually quite sure. I know for the Pro Series there's prizes. I think for the All-Stars, there's nothing. I'm pretty sure there's nothing. So for the Pro Series, you win $10,000.
There you go, $10,000.
Yeah, unfortunately for the All-Stars, the only chance you'll have at winning prizes will be in SwiftX qualifying if you can take pole position and take home that $200 worth of Bitcoin. But I think for the championship, there's nothing. Yeah, exactly. Bitcoin, I love it. I don't think there's anything else to take home, though, for the series, unfortunately, for the All-Stars.
Oh, look, that's amazing money. $10,000 up for grabs for these gamers. You know, obviously the other guys do it for a living, so that, you know, they're there to represent their teams. But $10,000 in gaming money is real money, real championships around the globe that these guys come to. We're now on the last lap, ladies and gentlemen, and it's an all clean sweep right now for Let's Play Live. The two Mustangs, or was it a Mustang and a Holden? Don't quote me quite there, but right now it's Kyle George's to lose. Yes, two Mustangs. His tyre degradation hits the last lap right now. All he's got to do is bring it home safely, and he will go through next week.
Now, you talked about that as well. It was Talyancic who jumped into the Commodore by accident, now jumping into the correct car at the Mustang for this one. A lot of prizes on offer and still some racing down the back end of the pack here to end this race, as Matt Stevens, we're hearing, had an off and lost a couple of positions. So he's dropped down to 6th. He's currently sitting in 4th on the timing screen. But for Kyle George, he'll go in next week with a good chance of potentially earning some prizes. He won't be in with a shot at the $26,500 on offer for the Pro Series Championship. That's in total series cash and prizes for them. $10,000 for the overall winner. But he will be in with a shot to compete with the All-Stars and his favorite talent from Supercars. Couple corners to go for Kyle George. He's driven phenomenally tonight, and this will be an event he'll remember. But the nerves rack on next week, because that's where the challenge will be faced. To race around Watkins Glen to try and take on Brody Kostecki. Richie Stanaway, his fellow Kiwi. Kyle George crosses the line and takes overall victory today for the Auckland Unlimited Supercars Eseries Wildcard Tournament.
Fantastic stuff there for Kyle George. Let's Play Live, 1st and 2nd. Number 2, Michael Talianchi coming in 2nd. Cameron Dance will be happy in 3rd position as they round out right now. Cameron Dance sitting in the Battle of Jacks Ridge car, November the 13th to 14th. It's a selfless plug there. Beautiful rally event. 3rd position for him. And James Anderson climbed on up, the young gun from Kiwi. Great to see him out there and racing, and the family still racing as well. James Anderson sitting in 4th. We'll find out the full results very shortly. Jonathan, take on the race 3 of the Wildcard Esports Series for Tāmaki Makaurau and Auckland Unlimited.
It wasn't as eventful of an event than the reverse grid one. It wasn't expected anyway. But we did see Talyancic stay honest with Kyle George. That's some great speed from a man who said that he can't really challenge the young guns. He has 10 years on Kyle George, but certainly on the racetrack, he only had 1 less position than him. There was George in the Let's Play Live Mustang, off to a great getaway. A lot of battling through the back of the pack as well. Cameron Dance made his way up to 3rd in the opening stages of the race too. But down the back end of the order, the field split. It was pretty much a battle of 3 for most of this event.
Was indeed. James Anderson dropped, unfortunately, a few positions, and he tried to fight them back, but he couldn't quite get there. Sitting down in 5th position, he made one back up on Stevens. There was a great little race going down further down the field, 4, 5, 6, but out the front, Kyle George just led it very well. He earned the Doctor of the House for race 3 at Phillip Island, and we check out the leaderboard now for the race. Let's Play Live taking 1st and 2nd position. Well done for them. And yes, we'll check out the leaderboard very shortly. Kyle George, though, you know, it's not official, but how cool is that? There we go. Official. Kyle George takes it out. 28 points. And Michael with 24 points. James Anderson in 3rd position with 22 points. Jonathan.
Well, a maximum of 30 points on offer, and Kyle George took 28 of them. A great result from him. And commiserations for everybody else who missed out, but a great experience for all of them. to race on the big stage here in the Wildcard tournament.
Yes, well, we will grab Kyle George shortly for an interview, and he's going to go through to represent Team Tāmaki Makaurau alongside Richie Stanaway and El Nabi. Now, that is pretty cool in itself, because now we have the guys sitting in third position for the All-Star Series, and we've got another team member, a fantastic young driver, to go in there and potentially play some team orders to hopefully get the win. Kyle George, I think we can cue you on in. Kyle, first off, a massive congratulations. You are our inaugural champion winner. 3 rounds for Team Tāmaki Makaurau. How do you feel?
Cheers, guys. I don't actually know how to feel. I guess it'll probably settle in later. The thing I'm most happy about is actually not making a fool of myself on national TV, to be honest. So that's I managed to achieve that. So no, it was a good race and kept it clean. It was basically just keep it out of the wall and keep it at the front. Is what was the aim of my game.
Look, you've had some fantastic on-circuit motorsport. You've done a bit of karting. You've done a bit of racing. Now you're into the esport game. Jonathan, what's Kyle got to look forward to next weekend?
Well, Kyle, I would assume there's going to be a lot of pressure on your hands, right, mate? Because you're racing against your favourite drivers from supercars, and you're going to be on a bigger stage than tonight. I wouldn't even think about saying that. I wouldn't even want to think about that. It's going to be a tough few nights sleeping, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, going forward to next week, from now on, it's just a bonus making the race and racing against the guys that I've watched over the years on racing their real cars.
Well, Kyle, you take the bragging rights and you've solidified yourself in New Zealand as an esport champion for the Team Tāmaki Makaurau. Well done. Congratulations. I hope you do us proud. Any parting words before we let you go?
I just want to say congrats to all the boys tonight. Racing was fairly clean. There was a couple of little bust-ups here and there, but thanks to Supercars and everyone and all the sponsors and everyone that put this in tow for us Kiwis to have a go, and I look forward to next week, and thanks for everyone that's tuning in tonight on the live stream. There's been a lot of kind words and I appreciate it.
Awesome, Kyle. Good luck, and we wish you the best, and a lot of clean practice time on the sim in the week leading up to next week's event at Watkins Glen, the final. No doubt you will do us proud. Jonathan, what's your final thoughts on the qualifier, the first inaugural event for Team Tāmaki Makaurau in the Cash Converters Esports Series?
Great to have the Kiwis on board, first of all, and great to see another one on the grid for the All-Stars next week at Watkins Glen. It's a circuit we visited for the All-Stars E-Series for round 4 last year during the midst of the global pandemic, and the All-Stars get to race there again in the supercars around the NASCAR Cup road course. It's going to be a thriller. Well, Jonathan, I appreciate you joining us for the broadcast. It's been a pleasure, and I can't wait to watch you, Crompo and Chad take it home next weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, you can tune in to watch Kyle on Fox Sport, KO, Sky TV, and of course on their Facebook pages. My name is Brendan White. It's been a pleasure presenting the first inaugural Tāmaki Makaurau Auckland Unlimited qualifier, the Wildcards for the Cash Converters Esports Series. Tune in next weekend. Well done to our top 3 places. I'm sure we'll see this again next year. Stay safe on the roads. Check us out on Facebook. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week for the grand finale. Bye for now. Thank you.